Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this episode of Teachers to Tech. It looks like I'm going to close out this season with this episode and probably close out the year. I will be doing a few short pieces here and there just to keep things interesting and lively. Meanwhile, I'm thinking about things that I can offer as additional content, maybe monetize a little bit, while keeping the main podcast still free to everybody. Anyway, I need to apologize to you because this episode should have been published yesterday, and here I am recording it now. But I had to push on and get this recorded because right now, while we're recording, we're in the beginnings of the busy holiday season. And when I tell you about the item that is the subject of today's podcast, you may decide you want to put it on your gift list, or you may choose to purchase it for somebody else who also is interested in learning about technology. So let's dive in. Today I want to talk to you about a very cool little processor called the microbit. It's a small programmable microcontroller and developed by, believe it or not, BBC, that one, the British Broadcasting Corporation. So if you watch Sherlock, then you've got the right people. It's developed in collaboration with other tech companies and educational institutions and organizations, but you'll see their name on it. I'm surprised I didn't know about it a little sooner because it launched in 2016, and I only found out about it, about a year and a half ago. Now, we're talking about a very small circuit board. In fact, you could fit it in the palm of your hand, but it's got some pretty cool features built right into it. It's got an LED matrix with 5x5 grid. It's got two programmable buttons, it's got built-in sensors for temperature, motion, and light, and it's got a whole range of input and output pins so that you can have it interacting with other devices that you can add, some of which are available from the same places you can get the microbit in the first place. And by the way, there are lots of plans out there for how to build different devices, stuff that you can actually use or play with in very practical ways. One of the coolest things about the latest edition of the microbit is that it can communicate with other microbits via radio wave. Nothing else to add, just two microbits can send messages to each other and cause each other to carry out different functions. All right, so who might be interested in this? Well, obviously, I think you, my listeners, would be. And I believe that I'm mainly targeting adults with the way I have formatted this podcast, but it was not designed originally for adults. It was targeted at 11 to 12-year-olds in the UK where it was first developed. It was distributed to over 1 million students, but this thing caught on big. In fact, the person who first got me acquainted with these was a person who retired into my line of work from education, who had an extra one and just passed it on to me. Here you go, have fun with this. That's how I discovered it. And so now it's one of those small devices that schools and clubs and a lot of other groups have incorporated into their learning or their hobbies. By the way, that's partly because they're so inexpensive. Now, last episode, I promised to relate the block programming to a device, and here it is. So let's get into the block programming aspect. First of all, let me say if you're very new to programming and you're not real secure that you can create a successful project first time out, there are plenty of example programs that you can simply download to your microbit and run them as example programs or practice programs or just for fun because, hey, this is my toy and I'm going to leave it the way it is. But one of the key features of the microbit is it is integrated with block-based programming, and that is a visual programming language that simplifies coding. Now, I told you a lot about this last week, but let's rehash a little bit. We can use Microsoft's MakeCode editor, and that's a drag-and-drop interface where we can simply take a block of code that says in plain English, here's what I want to have happen, and we'll interlock with other blocks until we finally created our whole program. And we will kind of, you could say, form sentences that are commands to our microbit, and we'll know exactly what needs to be carried out. Very flexible, though, so we might say do something so many times, and we can select a number and put it in and say, oh, I want you to do it 3 times or 5 times or whatever it is, so that we can set our customization inside the program. It's all very intuitive. If you play with it just for a little bit, you'll get comfortable quickly. To do our programming, we're usually going to use Microsoft's MakeCode editor, and that is also available as an app on phones. If you're using a computer, you're probably going to connect up to your microbit with a USB cable that comes with it. However, if you're using your phone, you can connect up via Bluetooth. You can do 2 things this way. You can use the phone as a remote control of the microbit for certain programs you might write, or you can actually write a program and download it via Bluetooth right onto your microbit and run it that way. Now, one of the neat features of that editor is if you're using the block code method, you can change the tab that you're viewing in the programming environment to see what that same program would be in JavaScript. Let's say that you do what I mentioned a minute ago, and you have a part of your program that you want to have repeat several times. You write this repeating, and then you go to the JavaScript screen. You might say, hey, I know that I asked this program to repeat at this point 3 times. I'm going to find that 3, change it to a 5, re-download the program. Oh, look, that worked. And that tells me that I've learned to read just a little bit of the JavaScript. And in that way, you can do some inductive learning of a text-based program language. When we come back, I'll talk a little bit about some of the specific features of the microbit and some of the accessories you can add on. Our microbit is going to have on it a light sensor, an accelerometer, a magnetometer, and a compass, all built in. That means you can have it right out of the box, start using real-world data inside of programs. It can display a temperature to you, for instance. And so you can have sensors where you're trying out what would I do with a program that could get input from the world around me, which is a little bit more realistic use than some of the things we used to do in programming classes at college, where they only kind of interacted with the user as a set of test data. Hey, what's your name? What's your age, etc. Input back as output. So it's a very useful way of starting to understand the real-world applications around us. And there are a whole range of accessories that can be used with it. Some of the add-ons include more sensors, motors, LED displays, and robotic kits, and this makes them even more interactive. For example, the microbit can be used with a servo motor to create a moving robot, or it can be combined with a temperature sensor to monitor the environment. Some of the other accessories include expansion boards and cables, so you can connect to other devices, like a Raspberry Pi computer or an Arduino board, or external displays. And if you want to know more about Raspberry Pi or Arduino, all you've got to do is look back several episodes to earlier seasons. So this means that you'll be able to use your microbit as, say, a sensor device to give input to either a Raspberry Pi or an Arduino, either of which typically need additional sensors and devices added to them to interact with the real world anyway. All right, well, at this point, hopefully I've sold you on the microbit as a great way to learn. It is not probably an item that you're going to build into, say, a 3D printed cabinet and say, this is my little computer, or this is my specialized alarm device, etc., like you might do with an Arduino, although you could. But because of the location of some of the controls and the readout, it's something probably that you will pull out every so often, experiment with, and leave it loose. So it's more of a learning tool to me, but it's still great, and it's a lot of fun, and it's quick to use. You can buy the bits and various different accessories separate or in kits, and you'll find them at a lot of retailers online. The cost depends on how much you get with it. I bought a simple setup with a few accessories for about $35, which my quick research here from some AI says, well, prices start lower than that. But I also took the easy way out and just went to that famous big online retailer, searched up what I wanted, and ordered right from them. So I had it in, of course, a couple of days in a pretty nice package too. that I use to keep repacking the thing up and just containing it in this nice box it came with. Once you've got it, you'll go online to their website. You'll see some projects that you like that are based on nothing more than what you got in the kit, and you can get started understanding the environment, programming from your computer, and then maybe expand into programming from your phone. But no matter what you do with this thing, you're going to love it. It's easy to work with, it's easy to learn, and it is pretty powerful for a little inexpensive device. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this last episode of Season 3. I will be working on some new things for you soon, so watch for those. And as I say, there might be some short little bits that I put out every so often just to say hello and keep you up on a few things. Thank you for listening to this season. And if you haven't reviewed us yet, I hope you will go out to whatever platform you listen on and do that. There is a link that always comes up with every episode that'll let you contact me directly just to say hello. Hey, I've been listening. I like the show. Or you haven't talked about such and such yet. Do you think you could put an episode out on that? Just let me know that you're out there. As always, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon.